So there you have it. Liverpool go 3-1 up in the first leg against Benfica. With away goals, without away goals, this still is the same tie at this point. I think that Liverpool went out there to try and put this into a position where it made it very difficult for Benfica as soon as possible. They've got a lot of difficult games back-to-back in a very difficult run from here on out. And if you can try and get as many of these games in what you feel would be a neutral position, a position where you can be in control or should be in control, then that is exactly what Liverpool have gone out and tried to do from very early on, to be honest. And getting that early Konate goal from a corner like that was pretty vital to this result, I'd say, in the end, because early on, you felt the Benfica were being quite cagey about it. They were attacking particularly well. They were trying to use that pace against Liverpool's two fullbacks and then trying to attack in on the angles. And really, it was pretty vital that they just got up, got any kind of goal, get your centre-back's head on it, get Konate up there, get Virgil van Dijk, get Matip up there, get Gomez up there, any of those guys. All you need to do is go down there and make sure that Liverpool execute on corners, because it makes a huge difference to this side. If you can rely on other people outside of these strikers, take the pressure off them a little bit, let them play their game, it makes a massive difference. Personally, I also think the two other goals were classic Liverpool goals. One of them, very direct, ball out from the right back, straight up to Diaz, header back across, and Mane gets that one in. For me, it was a classic Liverpool goal and very simple. The best Liverpool goals are simple in their imagination, and that's exactly what I think Liverpool were trying to do. And then later on in the game, obviously, we saw it was a great goal from Luis Diaz as he rounded the goalkeeper, put it in. Very simple finish, and again, very simple goal. A deflected through ball from Naby Keita, but still a through ball from Naby Keita. And I think overall, Liverpool will be happy with the balance of the entire side tonight, even when they're being counter-attacked on, even though there was a mistake from Konate, which you can blame him for it, but there's no reason to dwell on it for too long. He understands the mistake he made. He understands getting your feet wrong in those kind of positions just isn't really acceptable. And ultimately, I think apart from that, it was very difficult to fault a lot of what Liverpool did tonight. There were a couple of times where Alisson was out of his goal, but even then, I think that's part of his goalkeeping profile, if you like, and that's kind of what Klopp and the coaching staff want him to do. I think they played some great balls out, and personally, I think starting the game without Firmino and then bringing Firmino on makes a huge difference to this Liverpool side. You're almost changing the kind of plays that Liverpool can have. You're changing the kind of play that they want to play with, and it makes a big difference because it changes the shape that Liverpool play in when you bring on Firmino, even though Mane does drop a little bit, changes the shape. But B, it also changes the kind of play that Liverpool have got, changes the kind of pressing, makes it difficult for the opposition to get out. When they think they've got around Liverpool's press in the first half, or whenever it is, then you bring Firmino on and that changes things again. It changes the kind of press, who's initiating it, all those kind of things. And that's why those changes for Liverpool were so key when they brought Henderson and Firmino on. They're an executing team of specialists who I think come on and try and not only shut the game down, become a little bit more defensive, but they make a big difference in terms of how Liverpool press, where Liverpool press, and the kind of shapes that they're pressing against and who's initiating the press. Who initiates the press in every big side is a huge aspect of that, because you can tell what kind of press, who's pressing where, and the kind of the shape that Liverpool want to be at that point. So outside of that, you would say that I always feel like in the Champions League, Virgil van Dijk has this presence about him. I think a lot of people almost give him too much respect, and maybe you can't respect one of the greatest centre-backs, at least in the modern game, too much. But he gets a lot of respect, and it almost scares some people. I almost wonder if a few people to run at him and to run at that back line, what would happen? But very rarely do they do that. And very often they put the stress on Trent or on that side, on the midfielder that drops back deep, on even someone like Andy Robertson. And that is almost diverting away from where Liverpool don't want the pressure. Fabinho puts a great block right in front of that defence. And it means that running at that Liverpool back line almost becomes impossible. And if you do manage to do it, you need to make the most of your opportunities, which means a lot of people snatch at them. Then you've got that midfield, right? Which is Fabinho, Thiago, and X. Tonight it was Fabinho, Thiago, and Keita. Quite different, maybe a little bit more adventurous than playing your likes of Jordan Henderson. But even then, when Henderson came on, he looked like he was trying to be adventurous. He looked like he was trying to get the assist. He looked like he was trying to be the guy who was setting things up for Liverpool. He enjoys that attacking role a lot more than he does enjoy playing that six. And frankly, like the adaptability of Liverpool's midfield is very impressive. I would say at this point, though, that there's an element of Liverpool playing the very top opposition in Europe. Whoever's in this round is a great opposition, don't get me wrong. But it's the key when you play the likes of City. It's the key when you play the very, very top sides, because there are two different kinds of game you can play at the very top in Europe at the moment. You're either playing one of the absolute elite teams or one of the teams that want to be elite and therefore play a slightly different game from those elites. Liverpool at the moment are part of that elite and are part of that kind of football which becomes very difficult to play against, becomes demoralising to play against, and is very difficult to break down. And Benfica really did struggle against that tonight. So the fact that Liverpool are 3-1 up is good because they've executed, they've gone out and gotten the goals that they need to get. The focus should be on that. But the focus will also be on the fact that the midfield looked balanced, the strikers probably could have created a few more chances, but overall they had control of the game. There were times, there was that 15, maybe 10-minute period where they looked like they were letting Liverpool were letting Benfica back into it. There's no need to do that. Just continue with the tie, get your ducks in order and just execute. Because the bigger games in terms of City, in terms of the second leg, are still to come. Benfica are, by the way, no means a pushover, but being 3-1 up against them is a huge advantage going into the second leg. They have to come back to Anfield, they have to attack Liverpool, and it means that Liverpool will be in a position where they can try to counter-attack, try to get Mo Salah, Mane, Luis Diaz into positions where if there's more space at the back, they can be in those spaces, and the likes of that second goal that Liverpool scored could be a huge prevalent part of the second leg. So how will Klopp feel at this point? He looked pretty laid back in the press conference. Pep Guardiola as well, joking. Both of these guys obviously try and play things off, give some quotes that the press can slightly divert attention away from the team with. It's smart. It's a smart thing to do. And I often wonder to myself, like, with Jurgen Klopp, his, should we say, divergence from the team and divergence from the focus on the side is often very good. He's very good at joking around with the press. He's very good at relieving the pressure on the team. And that must feel like a huge thing for this Liverpool side, who maybe now are a little bit more used to elements of this pressure. But that City game is huge pressure. Away from home, essentially there are a lot of people, I think on Twitter and in general, who are saying, lose this game or draw it, and it's City's to lose. Because kind of grammatically and factually, that is correct. But there are still more games this season which either side could lose. And I still feel like even if that game is a 1-1 or whatever you want it to be, which might feel like a win to City, there are still some more turns in this season. And, you know, Champions League is almost a completely separate thing. What's weird is this team seem incredibly good at compartmentalising what needs to be said and done out on the pitch. Get the Champions League done, go back to the league. Champions League, back to the league. FA Cup, back to the league. They become very good at that. They become a lot better at planning ahead. They become a lot better at managing the game load, all these kind of things. And the likes of Luis Diaz, the likes of Naby Keita being fit, even the likes of Thiago being in this side, make a huge difference to this team. Because you will probably see Curtis Jones play the FA Cup game against Man City. You'll probably see the likes of James Milner play in that game as well. You'll probably see a few of the players who have been more fringe players this season getting a chance against the likes of City in the FA Cup. One thing for me to note is this team chemistry is just great. Like, I'm honestly loving seeing Liverpool play in this style, feeling each other, kind of being good teammates. It was nice to see the little celebration with Luis Diaz and Fabinho tonight. And outside of that, it's good to see team chemistry coming together like that with team players who haven't been there for very long. You can kind of tell when a team is together, when they can integrate new players like that very quickly. The concern for me is when that's challenged, what happens then? And we're about to see that against City this weekend. The chemistry is going to be challenged. They're going to be put in a very difficult situation. It can't just be when the good times are rolling, you roll too. There has to be an element of when there's hardship, you get through that. And I don't want to see this negativity that's surrounded elements of some other title challenges from other teams down the years coming into this Liverpool side. They need to be able to stay together. They need to be able to keep their heads and realise it's not just based on this game, even if a lot of people from the outside are doing so. Klopp seemed good at keeping them on that kind of route. Let's see if he can continue with that. It'd be interesting to see how Klopp and Pep both treat that game. Because tonight, it definitely looked like City had the upper hand, but they didn't capitalise. They didn't in any way execute in the way that Liverpool did, and they looked slightly shakier. I wonder if they had an eye on that City game. Did Liverpool also have an eye on that City game as well, though? Do you think they were really going all out? Because I didn't feel that Liverpool left second, maybe third gear tonight. There were a couple of sprints where I thought, okay, he's going a little bit quicker, but generally not. And that's not a lack of respect for Benfica. It's just Liverpool have become this side who execute in this way. And that's partly down to the calmness of the likes of people like Jordan Henderson, the calmness of people like Virgil van Dijk, Alisson within the side, the leaders. There are now multiple people that feel like leaders because they're veterans within this team. The key is, what do you do against Man City on the weekend? Who do you play? Who do you start? Do you start Firmino in the middle there? If Henderson didn't play this game, he probably starts on the weekend. But Fabinho and Thiago should probably start on the weekend. I'd be fascinated to know what your guys' positions are on that. I'll probably be doing a preview later on in the week. It's a huge opening night for Liverpool in this run of games here. I'm really fascinated to see where you guys think this is going. Massive result for them in the Champions League, but it's not done yet. You've got to go and execute at Anfield. Make sure that Benfica don't get the upper hand, don't get the crowd nervous, don't put people in a position where they can start to go, ooh, are we really in this? I'll be interested to know what you guys think, where the balance is, who brought that balance tonight. I really enjoy watching Fabinho. I think Fabinho is the heart of this team at the moment in terms of breaking up in midfield, getting it back, breaking up, get it back. And by the way, outside of his mistake, I actually thought Konaté was pretty good. Let me know your ratings in the chat. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Love you.